Hi, friends, and welcome. I am genuinely excited about this conversation today because I brought together two women who've helped thousands of people throughout their career in very different but deeply connected ways. Both of them work at the intersection of identity, capacity, and how women are actually living their lives, not just what looks good on paper. What I love about today's conversation is that we're not talking about hustle. And we're not talking about productivity hacks. We're talking about something deeper, about space, about what women are carrying, about boundaries. And we're talking about what happens when we begin to live intentionally instead of automatically. So I just want you as a listener to think about what resonates. You don't need to fix anything. I just want you to listen to you. And so I know both of you have helped thousands of people over the course of your careers. But before we dive in, I'm going to have you each share a little bit about yourself and the work you do and how you find yourself helping others in this season of your life. So, Helena, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, Helena Palmer, glad to be here. Super excited in an inaugural podcast role here with you as a guest. My career goes many, many years, mostly in human services, with a really broad spectrum of working with all different ages. And currently, I'm working with military family members and military members, particularly in terms of building their resilience skills, building capacity in many, many different ways to hope sort of increase their ability to withstand all the stressors and things that they deal with in their jobs and lives.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm so excited to have you here. And Dr. Eminem, as we are calling you here. I love it. Dr. Eminem, well, not that is who you are. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, well, first, the Dr. Eminem was coined by the Helena Palmer, so thank you for that. So I have had the opportunity, like Miss Palmer, to be able to work in many, many, many different human service roles. So I've gotten to work for the military. I've gotten to work for mentally disabled individuals, and in my personal life, I've gotten to do a little bit of coaching and mentoring, and helping people live their lives by design, and stop living up to trying to live up to others' expectation versus their own internal motivations.
Wow, you guys have both done some fabulous things, and I'm so excited that I'm connected to you. I learn so much every time every time we're together. But I'm going to start with Helena first. I want to talk about space and boundaries and just our, people's lived reality, right? So in
hmm
your work, Helena, you help people look at how their time, energy, and attention is just actually distributed. So what do you
hmm
notice when people finally see where their life is going? Because I know for me, that's very hard sometimes to sit with it and actually see where it's going.
So true, so true. We all face that. I think the hardest question that's popular in coaching is, what do you want, right? That is the most difficult. And what I've been captivated by are military members who are consumed by their work and in a very special way because it demands so much, and they kind of lose a sense of self. They kind of get lost in that new role that they've taken on, and many years flash by, and suddenly they're sort of, I don't have a hobby. I don't really know what my real interests are. Not that I don't have a purpose, because I've been told what my purpose is, and I'm following that with great passion, and I'm, trying to be a high achiever military member, but they lose that sense. They feel, and so I think what I see is when you ask me, what I see in terms of when they finally get it is that a little bit of a sadness, a little bit of a sense of loss of like, I've missed this opportunity to have more dimensions in my life and be able to pursue a hobby, pursue things that bring me joy. I had a high achieving airman that she was bound and determined the only thing that was going to keep her busy was to have another master's degree. And after kind of some open ended conversations, maybe I'll get a dog, like start with something that brings me connection and joy and get outside. So, yeah, it can take many different forms, but I think that there can be a sense of sadness and sort of in that realization and that initial realization.
Yeah, I think that, even for coaches, right? We have to have some time to really think about what it is that we really want because
hmm
we as people who help people, have to, well, all people listening who are helpers and who view themselves as servant leaders, it is easy to get lost in helping other people. And then
Mhm.
it's a little uncomfortable taking that time to take care of you. Helena, where do people most often lose their sense of space, whether that's emotionally or practically?
Well, I think, there's a lot of noise in the world, right? I really think it becomes, they lose their sense of space when the distractions overwhelm them. And those distractions can be, currently I have colleagues and teammates and folks I know very well who kind of struggle with something that's not going right, something that's just doesn't feel right in their space. And then that becomes a distraction to these other things that can fill me up and bring me energy and motivation. And so they just don't realize it until that's really overwhelmed them and they're exhausted and they're not sleeping well. So there's that point of kind of a breaking point, a little bit of sort of, wow, I need to step back. I need to take a look at this situation. So that we're drawn to negative energy, and that negative energy, I mean, that's statistically shown, the data, the research about being drawn to negative things. And then if they consume us, we lose that control over our space and our what brings us purpose.
That control is so huge, Helena. It's a trigger word for me. I like to call it aggressively helpful. But, what begins
Yeah,
to shift when, so when someone does realize that, excuse me, when they realize it, what begins to shift when they start protecting their space, even in small ways?
I think it shifts, in those small ways, like you said, when they find that sense of agency, when they have that aha moment, and sometimes it's just waking up and saying, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute, I don't have to sit with all this negativity." And everyone has different risk tolerance, and so what is that assessment that you might have to make in terms of risk and reward, and then you realize the reward of being set free a little bit and letting go of those negative things is bigger then maybe there is a risk. And of course, in the military, there's a lot of that in terms of, you know, again, inculcated with that idea of promotion and moving forward and always being on that track. Will this hurt me or not? But what does it do to me personally? And so, kind of taking that little step into liberty and freedom of like, well, actually this is going to make me feel better and I will be more productive and I will be a better teammate and all of those things if I let go of that distraction.
Yeah, that's that letting go is very hard, and realizing that that's okay is
Mhm.
is power in itself.
Yeah.
Excuse me. As soon as I get on video, my nose starts to run. I all of a sudden randomly cough. I don't know what it is. It's just the way we're going with it, peeps.
Mm,
So, Helena, I just
all
love
good.
as we're talking about space and energy and what people are carrying. It connects, so deeply to Dr. Eminem's doctoral research, because you've studied these exact patterns at a deeper level. So, I would love to, hear from you your doctoral research, which I love, I'm the biggest fan. I love it all, right?
Yeah,
I'm a super big nerd and I love to read things like that, right? But
right.
especially reading things that apply to you. When I'm reading it, and I'll let you talk a little bit about it, but can you give me a little background of you, Dr. Eminem, before I ask you a few questions?
So yeah, my doctoral research actually points to the fact that a lot of women internalize some of their struggles, and some of those struggles come from them juggling multiple roles, and so there it leads to things like weight gain and stress. And what does weight gain and stress often lead to? More health problems. So one thing they need to do is start to first identify those roles because we don't even realize that we're role hopping. It took me forever to
Mm,
realize that I
mhm.
have the role of being a mom, the role of being a wife, the role of being a student, those are a lot of roles. And sometimes you spread yourself too thin, which causes an added layer of stress.
Yes. Those roles are so powerful within us, right? And all the different ones that you mentioned. Well, why do you think so many women end up organizing their lives around expectations instead of themselves?
Um, Just from reading and just my own experience, I think a lot of women do that out of fear that people and those around them, might start thinking that they're weak or they lack any type of capacity, and I think those expectations, them leaning into those expectation comes from often thinking the negative, that people are gonna just look at them in the negative all the time, and they wanna make sure that they are living beyond that, and it's so hard to do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Helena, do you have anything to add to that as well about women organizing their lives around expectations instead of themselves?
Absolutely, absolutely, and certainly I have a little. I'm ahead of you all in the generational spread, and I would say that I definitely grew up with a lot of that. I mean, my mother broke boundaries in a lot of ways. Started her career at 50, and was extremely successful, but never let go really of that expectation around family and responsibility and holding things together. And it really just it's so internalized. It's very hard to say. You really have to stop and breathe and go, actually, they're going to be fine if I go do this for me, kind of thing, right? Some of those very basic need, taking care of some of those basic needs. But I love what you said, Dr. Eminem, about the corrosion that happens when it's internalized, when it's really sitting, when people are sitting with it, if it doesn't suit them. There's some people that are suited to be caregivers, and that's great, and they play out some of that. But again, shaping what expectations you want to hold on to and which ones you want to let go is a tough thing, and it changes all the time with your family
Mhm.
and your work and your surrounding and what you're doing. One part of your life, it might work really well, and then the next time you move into a new role and you think, okay, wait, this doesn't work for me so well. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's about, like, really, like, identifying what really truly matters, right? Learning how to prioritize and figure out what really needs to happen versus trying to just do it all.
Mm.
That's just you can't do it. You just will never be great at all of them.
I have always said, as a mother with 3 kids and a dog, at times, like, everybody only has 24 hours. The women that make the perfect cupcakes, something didn't happen, in their house.
Right. Right.
Or it's
Right.
okay to buy cupcakes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We put these self-imposed things on us that we want to do or we think we should do, and the shoulds are really what kill us at times, right? All those
Yeah,
should.
Mhm.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I wish this sounded better, but when people say like I shoulded myself to death or whatever, it sounds really bad if you, especially if you say it fast, but it's true. It's like if you just keep saying I should, I should, I should, you're also being that self-care, right? You're
Mhm.
being so mean to yourself and you would never want to, with a fellow human next to you, you would never say, "Yeah, you should do all those things." You'd say, "No, you deserve it. You deserve to take a break." But we don't do that to ourselves. We don't say that to ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so Dr. Eminem, when a woman feels exhausted but can't name why, what do you believe is often misaligned or missing in your research and just also in the work that you've done with, the thousands of people you've
Yeah.
helped?
Well, I think it's the imbalance of roles, right? When you're trying to perform so many things, you actually lose track of what exactly was your point of exhaustion, right? Like as I moved along in my career and I would meet people or younger women and they'll say, "Well, how did you do it?" And I would say, "Oh, I just did it. You just do it." And I've been telling them the wrong thing the whole time because you don't. You don't just
Mm.
do it. You don't just arrive here. I probably sacrificed so much, especially with my health, trying to just do it. So I encourage people, don't just do it. Take a step back, figure out what is achievable, and then go from there.
That's so
Mm.
powerful. I also saw
Mhm.
myself in Helena when she said someone that wanted to get 2 master's degrees because I did that right after I had a baby, and I was literally, like, crying driving to the class, and I'm like, "Why am I even doing this?" Right? It's just, it's hard, and it's so wonderful to have coaches also help call us out on these things when
Mhm.
Mhm.
high performers just really struggle with this, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if someone's listening and they're thinking, "Man, this feels like me," what's one thing that uh, you would want them to know right now? I'll start with Helena. What's one thing if someone's listening and thinking, "This feels like me," what's one thing you want them to know right now?
I would say, first of all, if they've resonated with them, it means they're listening, and so they have a growth mindset, and they're spending a little time on introspection. So I would congratulate them for that introspection and that moment that they're taking. So that's really, really, truly the first step. And the second one would be to sort of back to my original conversation about a little bit about hobbies and things that bring you joy and things like that. I think looking for that thing that echoes with your spirit. What resonates, what really says, yes, this is great. I haven't tried, Zumba, and this is unbelievable. This is my thing. And that's, you just see people light up when when it matches. So yeah, just finding some small thing that helps, as Doc said, taking those smaller steps. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. That's a really great idea. So think about something that makes you happy again, lights you up, and step into that. Just take that one step. I love that. All right, Dr. Eminem, what about you?
I think when I think about one thing that somebody should know right now that may be feeling just like I spoke of before would be expectation management. You
Hmm.
can't be everyone's everything. You have to live your life with a strategy, right? And that strategy starts with yourself. So taking care of yourself. I mean, because if you're no good to yourself, you won't be any good to anybody else. So yeah, just expectation management. What are you able to achieve truly within that 24 hours, like Miss Palmer said?
Well, I love that. That resonates with me. And I think that, my tip would even just with what we've been talking about is to give yourself a hug or a pat on the back, right? Like just take a moment to hug yourself and say, hey, I'm proud of all the things that you have been managing, but let's just do something a little smarter today. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing, everyone. It's just take your time to do something smarter. Um, one other thing too is just yesterday I had a client and he's so successful and he's, doing all these things and running companies. And I said, and I happen to have known him uh, from his past. And I said, "When was the last time you painted? You're so artistic. Like, have you done a painting, for your wife or for, I said, you really, and he goes, wow, I haven't painted in gosh, like in just forever, but I could tell it made him happy even thinking about it. So just thinking back to something that really lit you up and just go in and do it for a Saturday afternoon, right? So, Helena, you helped us see how our time, energy, and attention can tell the truth about our lives. And Dr. Eminem, you helped us understand why so many women are carrying what they are in the first place. And if you're interested, like I said, in thinking that, hey, this sounds like me, I want you to know once again, you're not behind. Awareness is always the beginning of change. Sometimes that first step, like Miss Palmer and Dr. Eminem have said, isn't doing more. It's just seeing more clearly and giving yourself that permission to adjust. So thank you both for your wisdom and honesty and the work you're doing in the world. They're both in Germany. So I'm super honored to do California to Germany podcast here. I love this. And to everyone listening, just take one small insight from today and let it matter. And thank you so much, friends. And thank you, Dr. Eminem and Helena, for being here. So
Thank
goodbye.
Thank you for having
Bye.
us.
Thank you for
Bye.
having us. It was a lot of fun.
Bye.